They're not going to tell you this openly, but you've already been marked, set apart, watched, and wondered about. The ones in power may not know your name yet, but your presence has been felt. You've been walking through life thinking no one sees you, but something far greater has been observing every move you've made. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You have been hidden, intentionally. You weren't overlooked. You were preserved. There's a difference. Because while others were in the spotlight, burning out and breaking down under the weight of applause, you were being built in the shadows, quietly, strategically, for a time such as this. And now, the shift has begun. Heaven has started whispering your name in places your feet haven't yet touched. There are meetings happening behind closed doors, private discussions in rooms of influence. And while they talk numbers, policies, and power, something stirs, an unease, a knowing, a realization that what they've built isn't enough to hold back what's coming. Systems are shaking, structures are cracking, and they're beginning to search for something real, something stable, something sacred. They're not just looking for the educated, the elite, or the experienced. They're looking for something different, something rare, and that something is you. You've felt different your whole life, haven't you? Like you never truly fit into the mold the world tried to press you into. Like no matter how hard you tried, normalcy never felt natural. That wasn't a flaw. That was divine design. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to follow the crowd. God wasn't raising a copy. He was crafting an original. And He didn't put you through all that pain for nothing. The storms, the silence, the seasons of confusion. It was all part of your shaping, your refining. Every closed door was a redirect. Every betrayal was a lesson. Every delay was a setup. You've been walking through what looked like wilderness, but in reality, it was divine training ground. And now that your preparation is nearly complete, the spotlight is beginning to shift, not toward those who fought for visibility, but toward those who were faithful in obscurity. This is what they don't understand. The ones in power, the ones who built empires with their hands, but ignored the condition of their hearts. They thought influence came from money and media. But now they're seeing that there's another kind of power, one that can't be bought, marketed, or manipulated. It's the kind of power you carry, the kind that comes from surviving what should have destroyed you, from standing when it would have been easier to fall, from believing when everything around you said to quit. That kind of strength, spiritual strength, is what they're missing, and that's why the search has begun. They won't say it in public, they may never admit it in headlines, but behind the scenes there's a stirring. Government leaders, financial institutions, organizations with reach and influence, they're searching, not for another influencer, not for a celebrity, but for someone who carries what the world can't explain. And though they don't have language for it, heaven does. It's called the anointing. It's called favor. It's called divine authority. And you, chosen one, have it. You didn't earn it. You were born with it. It's been growing in silence, fed by your obedience, strengthened through adversity, and now it's beginning to draw attention. You may have spent years wondering why your path was so hard, why nothing came easy, why it seemed like others got ahead while you were left behind. But hear this, you were never behind. You were just being set apart. God wasn't punishing you. He was preserving you, because what you carry is too valuable to be mishandled. The weight of your purpose required a deeper process. And now the time has come. The alarm in the spirit has gone off. The chosen ones are being awakened, positioned, and revealed. And the world, yes, even governments, are beginning to take notice. So if you've been feeling a shift, if your spirit has been restless, if doors are starting to creak open without you even knocking, it's not your imagination. It's not coincidence. It's confirmation. The silence around your name is breaking. The light is about to hit your life. You've been called, not by man, but by God. And now, what heaven already knew is beginning to manifest on earth. The question is no longer, who will recognize me, but, am I ready to be seen? Because ready or not, chosen one, they're coming. They need you, and everything in your life has led to this moment. You keep wondering why you've been called when you feel so unqualified. You've questioned yourself, doubted your worth, second-guessed your every step, because what you carry doesn't seem to line up with what the world celebrates. You look around and see polished resumes, perfect backgrounds, people with connections, accolades, education, recognition, and then you look at yourself and wonder, why me? But what you don't realize is that the very things you think disqualify you are the exact things that make you chosen. God doesn't call the ones who have it all together. He calls the ones who've been through the storm and are still standing, the ones who know what it feels like to be broken but kept going anyway, the ones who've seen darkness and still chose the light. He chooses the ones who've walked through hell and came out with heaven in their hearts. You see, man looks at the surface, titles, status, outward strength, but God looks deeper. He looks at the scars you tried to hide, the tears no one saw, the late nights you pushed through, the silent prayers you whispered when there was no one left to encourage you. That's what makes you different. You didn't rise because of support. You rose in spite of the silence. You weren't crowned by a crowd. You were chosen in a quiet place. And that's why you're so dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Because your strength wasn't handed to you, it was forged in fire. You don't just talk about faith, you've had to live it. And while others perform for applause, you walk in power. People think being chosen is about fame or recognition, but you know better. Being chosen means isolation. It means being misunderstood. It means being overlooked by man while being handpicked by God. It means walking a path where others mock you, question you, even leave you, because they can't see what God has placed inside you. And sometimes it means walking alone. But here's the truth. You were never truly alone. Every step you took, heaven was watching. Every prayer you prayed, angels moved. Every time you cried and got back up, the heavens recorded it. You think your past disqualifies you, but it only proves your calling. You think your mistakes mean you're not worthy, but they're the reason you carry compassion. You think your struggle means you're behind, but it's been preparing you to lead. Look at every story in Scripture, and you'll find a pattern. God doesn't use the obvious. He uses the overlooked. He didn't choose the strongest of Jesse's sons. He chose the shepherd boy in the field. He didn't choose the polished speaker. He chose Moses, a man with a stutter. He didn't choose the established queen. He chose Esther, a girl who came from nothing. He didn't choose the religious elite. He chose fishermen, tax collectors, and broken people to change the world. Why? Because when God moves through the unlikely, there's no confusion about where the power comes from. No one can say, they did it on their own. It becomes clear, this is divine, and now it's your turn. You keep thinking you're not ready, but God sees something you don't. He sees the strength that came from your struggle, the wisdom that came from your wounds, the authority that was birthed in your affliction. You didn't go through all of that for nothing. Every heartbreak taught you discernment. Every rejection gave you resilience. Every delay deepened your dependency on God. And now you've become something the world can't replicate. Anointed, not loud, not flashy, but divinely equipped. The kind of person who can walk into chaos and carry peace, who can see through lies and speak truth, who can stand in the middle of a storm and not flinch because you've already seen what survival really looks like. You don't need credentials to be chosen. You don't need applause to be effective. What you carry cannot be taught, bought, or imitated. It is God-given, heaven-approved, battle-tested. The world may not understand it, but they're about to witness it, because the ones who once doubted you will watch you rise. Not because you chased the spotlight, but because you stayed faithful in the shadows. Not because you had a platform, but because you carried purpose. And now, as the world searches for answers, your voice is being called forward. Not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. You may not feel ready, but let this be your reminder. God doesn't ask for perfection. He asks for obedience. He doesn't wait for you to have it all figured out. He just waits for your yes. And when you give it, everything changes. Doors open, favor follows, strength fills you, and the fear that once held you hostage begins to lose its grip. Because chosen people may be pressed, but they don't break. They may be attacked, but they don't fall. They may walk through fire, but they come out without the smell of smoke. You are one of those people. You've been set apart for something greater, not because you earned it, but because heaven saw something in you before the world even knew your name. So if you're still wondering why someone like you would be chosen, just look at your life. Not with shame, but with clarity. Look at what you've survived. Look at what didn't kill you. Look at the peace you still carry after everything you've faced. That is your confirmation. That is your evidence. You were never just another face in the crowd. You were always chosen. And now it's time to walk like it. They're watching, not in the way you think, not with flashing lights or obvious surveillance, but quietly, strategically. The powers that be have always had their eyes on the obvious, the visible, the loud. But lately, something has shifted. Their formulas aren't working. The systems they trusted are starting to fail. The experts don't have the answers. The usual voices are going silent. And in the silence, they've begun to look elsewhere. Deeper, beyond the surface, beyond credentials and political ties. They're looking for something rare, something unshakable. They're looking for stability in a world that's been flipped upside down. And without fully realizing it, they've started turning their attention toward the ones who were never in the spotlight. The ones who carry something they can't quite explain. The ones heaven already called chosen. You may think you're still invisible, still unseen, still passed over like you've always been. But there are eyes on you now, not just spiritual, governmental, institutional. Eyes that used to scroll past you are now pausing. Eyes that once overlooked you are now scanning for something they don't fully understand but deeply need. They're beginning to feel it in boardrooms, in intelligence briefings, in high-level conversations. A sense that the solution isn't going to come from more policy or more money or another recycled plan. They're sensing that the answer is spiritual, that the wisdom they need exists, but not within their walls, not among the usual voices. They're beginning to sense that the one with the key to the next chapter isn't sitting at the table yet. That's where you come in. You, quiet, faithful, praying in the background. You, carrying a discernment that doesn't come from textbooks, a wisdom that didn't come from professors, but from pain, from prayer, from being pressed on every side and still coming out whole. You think the government doesn't see people like you, but the truth is, they're just now realizing they need people like you. Your anointing doesn't show up on paper, but it shows up in atmospheres. You don't hold traditional power, but you carry supernatural weight. And when you walk into a room, things shift. That's not charisma. That's calling. And that's why their attention is being drawn to you. This isn't new. It's always been this way. When Pharaoh couldn't make sense of his dreams, they didn't call the politicians or the scholars. They called Joseph, a forgotten prisoner. When Babylon's rulers were terrified by the handwriting on the wall, they didn't summon their advisors. They called Daniel, a foreign captive with divine wisdom. When a nation faced genocide, deliverance didn't come through a committee. It came through Esther, a woman who had no formal authority but had been divinely positioned. Every time the powers of the world have reached their limits, God has raised up someone from outside the system, someone overlooked by man but endorsed by heaven. And now that pattern is repeating. The government doesn't need another expert. It needs someone anointed. They may not say it out loud, they may not even know what to call it, but they're looking for you, not because you campaign for influence, but because you carry it effortlessly. Not because you've pushed your way forward, but because you've allowed God to pull you through fire and come out refined. What they're realizing, slowly, reluctantly, is that real solutions require real truth. And real truth comes from people who have walked with God, not just talked about Him. They're discovering that strategies alone won't save them, that the battles they face aren't just physical or political, they're spiritual. And you, chosen one, have been trained for this, not by man, but by the Spirit. The crazy part is, while they were building platforms and passing laws, you were being built, in silence, in wilderness seasons, in rejection. While they were trusting data, you were trusting divine direction. And now, as their systems shake, your stability is becoming magnetic. You carry what can't be explained by resumes. Peace in panic, clarity in confusion, confidence without arrogance. You speak and hearts listen, not because you shout, but because your words are anchored in something deeper. That's why the call is coming. That's why your name is rising. But don't expect it to look like an announcement. The world rarely recognizes the chosen until they're standing in front of them. They didn't honor Joseph until famine hit. They didn't value David until Goliath stood in the field. They didn't understand Jesus until he shook the gates of death itself. In the same way, your value will be revealed by the pressure of the times. As systems unravel, the demand for what you carry will increase. And you won't need to chase the opportunity. It will come searching for you. Because when man's wisdom ends, divine wisdom becomes priceless. This is why you couldn't skip the process, why you had to walk through fire, why God didn't let you take shortcuts. He wasn't punishing you, he was preparing you. Because influence without refinement is dangerous. Power without purity is destructive. And God knew the weight of the mantle you'd carry. He knew that one day leaders would look to you, that officials would come seeking answers, that governments would shift direction based on a word from your mouth. And he couldn't let that kind of authority rest on immaturity. So he took you the long way, not to delay you, but to develop you. And now the development is almost done. So if you feel the tension rising, if you sense eyes on you that weren't there before, if doors are starting to unlock without you even touching them, it's not coincidence, it's confirmation. You were always meant to advise kings, to influence policy, to shape nations, not through politics, but through purpose. You were hidden for a reason, and now you're being revealed for a season. This is your moment, and the ones who once ignored your voice are about to realize it's the only voice that makes sense. They're not just watching anymore, they're reaching. The question is, will you be ready when they call? It's all happening now, faster than you expected, sooner than you thought. You may not see every piece yet, but deep down, something in your spirit already knows. The shift isn't coming, it's already here. The atmosphere around you has changed. The doors that once stayed shut without explanation are starting to creak open. People who once dismissed you are suddenly watching. Conversations you never had access to are beginning to reach your ears. You feel it in the restlessness. You sense it in the unusual momentum. And you can't quite explain it, but you know something significant is unfolding. It's not just life moving forward, it's divine timing stepping into alignment. There are moments in life when everything feels like a blur of delay and disappointment. You pray, you prepare, you wait, and nothing moves. It's like you're standing at a locked gate with no key in sight. But what no one told you is that God wasn't stalling. He was synchronizing. He wasn't holding you back. He was holding things in place until the right moment. Timing isn't just about clocks and calendars. Timing in the kingdom is alignment. It's when preparation meets purpose, when what you carry internally matches the conditions externally. And for you, that moment is now. You didn't miss it. You weren't late. You weren't overlooked. You were being aligned. Some people move before their time and collapse under the weight of what they weren't ready to carry. But you've been patient. You've been faithful in obscurity. You've honored the process even when it was painful. You didn't force open what God hadn't unlocked. You didn't demand shortcuts or beg for premature elevation. You stayed when it was hard. You trusted when it didn't make sense. You kept walking when nothing around you validated your calling. And because of that, because of your quiet obedience, what is about to unfold in your life will be undeniable. Not forced, not fabricated, but divine. What you need to understand is that divine timing doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't knock gently and ask if you're ready. It shows up suddenly, like a flood. One moment you're overlooked. The next, you're in the room you were once locked out of. One moment you're unseen. The next, you're at the center of conversations you didn't even know were happening. God has a way of shifting things in your favor without consulting human timelines. And when He moves, everything else has to follow. It doesn't matter what the economy says. It doesn't matter who doubted you. When heaven says it's time, no force on earth can stop what's been scheduled for your life. This is why you've been feeling the tension increase. Why you've been uncomfortable in places that used to feel like home. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. The grace that once covered your hiding season is lifting, and now the call to step forward is getting louder. You're being pulled out of the background, not because you changed, but because the time did. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to manufacture it. All you have to do is recognize that the delay was never denial. It was divine. Everything that seemed random now starts to make sense. The missed opportunities, the closed doors, the relationships that fell apart, the years that felt wasted. They weren't wasted. They were woven into a timeline that was bigger than you could see. God has been orchestrating every detail down to the second, and while others may have arrived early and burned out, you are arriving right on time with oil in your lamp and power in your voice. You were never late. You were just aligned with something eternal. Look around. The world is moving faster than ever. Systems are breaking. Norms are shifting. People are searching for clarity, truth, and direction. And guess who has been prepared in silence to rise during this very moment? You. Not because of your resume, not because of your connections, but because of your obedience. Because you listened when others mocked. Because you stayed planted when others ran. Because you let God build you in secret while others sought to be seen. You are not stepping into just another season. You are stepping into your appointed time. The moment when what's inside of you begins to collide with what's been waiting for you. This is the season where things will start to happen quickly. Acceleration is the word. What took others years will take you months. What seemed impossible will unfold naturally. What felt heavy will suddenly feel light. Why? Because you're no longer striving against time. You're moving in rhythm with it. When you're in divine timing, things don't just happen, they align. And here's what's even more powerful. This shift isn't just for you. It's for everyone connected to your obedience. Your alignment unlocks doors for others. Your timing sets chains breaking for people you haven't even met yet. Your yes to the timing of God will ripple across generations. That's why the wait was so long. That's why the pressure was so intense. Because what's coming out of you isn't just for your benefit. It's a breakthrough for many. So don't hold back. Don't shrink when the door opens. Don't question if you're ready. You are. Everything you've walked through has led you here. The training, the testing, the tearing down and rebuilding, it was all necessary. Because now is the moment when the hidden becomes the highlighted, when the planted becomes the promoted, when divine timing turns preparation into purpose. The season has shifted, the atmosphere has changed, and whether the world is ready or not, you are, because heaven has spoken, and the time is now. They told you wealth was for other people. That abundance belonged to those with the right last name, the right skin tone, the right connections, the right degree. They made you believe you had to hustle endlessly, sacrifice your peace, compromise your values, or water down your calling to receive financial blessing. But what if that's all been a lie? What if the wealth the world has glorified is only a shadow of what God has already assigned to you? What if you've been chosen not just to receive wealth, but to redefine it, to carry it with purpose, to steward it with wisdom, to distribute it with compassion? What if everything you've been through has been preparing you to walk into a wealth that can't be explained by human effort alone? There's a wealth transfer taking place right now, and most people don't even see it. They're too distracted watching trends, chasing crypto, scrolling through highlight reels of fake success. But in the spiritual realm, a shift is unfolding, quietly, powerfully. unshakably. Resources are being rerouted. Fortunes are being reassigned. Influence is being redistributed. And it's not going to the loudest voices or the biggest platforms. It's being handed to the ones who've been refined in fire, the ones who can be trusted to carry abundance without being consumed by it, the ones who have already learned that money is a tool, not a god, that wealth is a responsibility, not a reward, that prosperity in God's kingdom is a form of divine assignment. You are one of those people, not because you were born with wealth, but because you were born with worth. Not because you manipulated your way to the top, but because you surrendered your need to be seen. And now, heaven is responding. The enemy tried to convince you that you would always live in lack, that you were destined to struggle, that financial favor wasn't part of your portion. But what he didn't know was that your struggle was proof of your calling. Your empty seasons were preparing your capacity. You had to feel the hunger so you would never forget the hungry. You had to live with less, so you'd never become prideful with more. You had to work without applause, so you'd never make money your identity. And now that you've passed those tests, now that your heart has been purified and your motives have been stripped of ego, you're stepping into something bigger. Not man-made wealth, but heaven-assigned overflow. Not shallow riches that come and go, but generational abundance rooted in God's promise. The kind of wealth that doesn't just buy things, but builds things. That doesn't just shine, but sustains. This is what the world can't understand. They think money is the prize, but for God's chosen, it's just the beginning. Because wealth in the hands of the righteous doesn't just change bank accounts, it changes cities, families, futures, and entire nations. This is why the enemy fought you so hard in your finances. This is why the attacks came when they did, just when you started to believe that something better was possible. The warfare wasn't because you were cursed. It was because you were close to a financial breakthrough that would shift the course of your entire bloodline. Close to walking into the resources that would allow you to launch the ministry, fund the vision, bless the single mother, pay off the debt, and break the cycles that plagued your family for generations. He tried to make you think that you'd always be behind, always be in survival mode, but the devil is a liar. And the chains are breaking now, not later, now, not for someone else, for you. You were never meant to chase money, it was always meant to chase you. When you're aligned with God's will, provision follows purpose. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to fight dirty to get it. You don't have to sell yourself short or compromise your identity to attain it. God says in His word, "The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and He adds no sorrow with it." That means you won't have to trade your peace for prosperity. You won't have to lose your joy to gain wealth. What God is bringing into your life is not just money. It's peace, impact, sustainability, and supernatural supply. You've already been marked for more, and you know it. That quiet sense inside that you were created to live beyond paycheck to paycheck, beyond scraping by, beyond constant stress about bills and survival. That knowing isn't arrogance, it's revelation. You're not greedy for dreaming bigger. You're obedient for saying yes to the abundance God already wrote into your destiny. Because when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. And it's not about flaunting, it's about funding. Funding movements, missions, visions, funding freedom, not just for yourself, but for others. That's why this wealth transfer matters. That's why the season is shifting. God is placing finances in the hands of those who will honor Him with it. He's blessing the ones who've proven they can be trusted with little, so He can now trust them with much. You didn't waste the hard years. You sowed seeds in them. You planted obedience in the dry ground of struggle, and now it's harvest time. That's not hype, that's prophecy. And if you can sense it in your spirit right now, don't dismiss it. Don't downplay it. Don't explain it away. This is not your imagination, it's your moment. The harvest is real, the transfer is happening, and it's coming to your doorstep, not because you chased it, but because you were faithful when nobody was watching. So get ready, not just to receive, but to release. Because with great abundance comes great responsibility, and God didn't choose you so you could hoard it. He chose you because He knew you'd pour it back out. Into your community, into your family, into the next generation, into the people no one else sees, into the visions that align with heaven's agenda. You are not just a recipient, you are a vessel. And as the floodgates of heaven begin to open over your life, the only question left is, can you be trusted to carry what others mishandled? Can you hold it with humility? Can you use it with wisdom? Can you steward it for the kingdom? If your answer is yes, if your heart is still bowed even as your season begins to rise, then get ready. Because you are stepping into overflow. Not just money in your hand, but purpose in your steps, strategy in your mind, peace in your home, and impact in your legacy. This is the wealth the world can't explain. This is the provision that doesn't make sense on paper but makes perfect sense in heaven. And it's coming, not next year, not someday. Now because God has seen your faithfulness, and now He's about to show the world what happens when a chosen one walks in divine prosperity. There's a sound in the Spirit right now, like the turning of a great wheel, like the unlocking of an ancient vault, and it's declaring one simple truth: restoration is here. Everything you lost, everything that slipped through your fingers, everything stolen, delayed, or buried in seasons of pain is being brought back around. Not just returned, but multiplied. Not restored to where you were, but elevated beyond where you thought you'd be. Because when God restores, He doesn't return you to the version of yourself that was broken. He reveals the version of you that was always meant to rise from the ashes. You've cried over things that others didn't see. You've mourned silently for dreams that never came to life. And still somehow you kept going, kept believing, kept showing up, and now heaven is moving in response to the weight of your perseverance. You see, loss doesn't intimidate God. What you thought was gone forever, relationships, opportunities, finances, even time, was never beyond His reach. God doesn't just remember what was taken from you. He records it. He doesn't overlook your pain. He stores your tears. He doesn't ignore your waiting. He measures it. And when the appointed time comes, He doesn't simply return what was missing. He redeems it. That means He redefines the value of everything you thought was wasted. That means the years you spent fighting battles in silence were not years lost. They were years invested. They were deposits into your destiny. And now the withdrawal is coming with interest. Think back to the moments you were overlooked, the doors that slammed in your face, the promotions that never came, the relationships that crumbled right when you thought they were leading somewhere. You thought it was rejection. You thought it was failure. But what if it was protection? What if those moments weren't the end, but the setup? What if God allowed certain things to fall apart because He knew they would have trapped you, limited you, defined you by something too small for your purpose? What if He stripped away everything that wasn't built on Him just so that when He blesses you now, it's on a foundation that can't be shaken? Because what's coming isn't temporary, it's legacy. And legacy doesn't rest on convenience. It rests on covenant. God made a covenant with you before anyone ever walked away from you. He had a plan for you before people disappointed you. He wrote a future for you before the enemy tried to write you off. And He hasn't changed His mind. No matter how far it seems you've fallen, no matter how long it's been, no matter how many people told you it was over, He still intends to fulfill every word He spoke over your life. But what makes this moment different is that you're no longer trying to earn it. You've learned how to rest in it. You've learned how to wait without bitterness, how to move forward without carrying the residue of what tried to break you. And because your heart has healed, your hands are now ready to receive. Restoration is not a slow rebuild, it's a divine release. And it's happening fast. You'll look up and wonder how you got here, how the same doors that once shut in your face are now opening wide, how the same people who once underestimated you are now asking for your wisdom, how the same resources you lacked are suddenly being placed in your hand. It won't make sense in the natural, but that's the point. God is about to restore you in such a way that no one will be able to say it was luck, timing, or coincidence. They'll have to say it was Him. They'll have to admit that what was impossible for man was always possible with God. You didn't go through all of that suffering for it to end in survival. God didn't carry you through those storms just to leave you dry and empty. He's the God of Job, who lost everything and gained double. He's the God of Joseph, who was betrayed, imprisoned, and forgotten, only to be elevated to rule in a palace. He's the God who turned ashes into beauty, mourning into dancing, captivity into freedom. And He's not done. If you're still breathing, He's still restoring. If you're still walking, He's still working. And if you're hearing this right now, it's because you're on the edge of the kind of comeback that leaves people speechless. They thought they buried you, but God planted you, and now you're about to bloom in a way that makes the pain worth it. The betrayals that once broke your heart will now become the backdrop for your testimony. The tears that once blurred your vision will now become the fuel behind your fire. The silence that once felt like abandonment will now echo with purpose, because God was never distant. He was just working behind the veil, preparing the right people, the right moments, the right alignments. And when He brings it all together, it will feel sudden, but it's been years in the making. You don't have to strive for this. You don't have to fight to make it happen. Just stay in position, stay in alignment. Keep your heart open, keep your spirit clean, because the restoration coming isn't just for your comfort, it's for your calling. It's not about revenge, it's about responsibility. God is placing things back into your life because you've proven you can carry them with maturity now. You don't want it just to prove a point. You want it because you're ready to steward it for the kingdom. And that's why it's coming. So lift your head, shake off the shame. Let go of the fear that says it's too late. Let go of the lie that says you missed your moment. Heaven's schedule has no delays, only divine alignments. And right now, all of heaven is leaning toward your life, ready to release what's been waiting behind the curtain. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to explain it. You won't even have to prove yourself anymore. The proof will be in the fruit, and the fruit is coming in abundance. The season of restoration is not in the distance. It's at your doorstep. Everything you thought you lost is about to return, transformed, elevated, and multiplied. Because you're not just favored, you're restored. It's not that you were ever forgotten, it's that what you carry couldn't be revealed too soon. You were never overlooked, you were hidden on purpose, not to punish you, but to protect what you've been entrusted with. Because what's inside of you is too strategic, too powerful, too sacred to be exposed to the wrong eyes or released at the wrong time. What you carry isn't just inspiration, it's divine strategy. Kingdom solutions wrapped in a human vessel, insight forged in silence, wisdom built not from theory, but from warfare. And now, God is getting ready to unveil what the world didn't know it needed, the chosen ones who don't just feel deeply, but discern deeply. You were never meant to merely react to the times, you were created to redefine them. You've noticed it your whole life. You don't think like everyone else. You see patterns in the chaos. You catch what others miss. While people scramble to respond to what's happening in the world, you've already felt the shift before it arrived. You've been graced with the ability to sense before the surface shifts. While others need data to predict outcomes, your spirit already discerns what's coming. That isn't luck. That's prophetic wiring. That's the gift of divine intelligence. And God has been sharpening that gift in private, away from platforms and applause, so that when the time comes to release it, no one can deny its power or its origin. The strategies that will carry families, communities, even nations through the storms ahead are not coming from think tanks or politicians. They're coming from you, from people like you who've sat in silence with God, wrestled with questions no one else asked, and emerged with insight that can't be taught in classrooms. Your brilliance has been buried beneath humility, disguised by simplicity, protected by anonymity, but it's real, and it's time, not for you to promote yourself, but for the mantle you carry to begin making divine noise. The kind of noise that opens doors without you knocking. The kind of revelation that causes leaders to ask, "Who is that? And where have they been?" You carry solutions, not because of your education, but because of your encounters. Your life has been a classroom. Every loss, every betrayal, every moment of confusion, it was God's way of feeding your discernment, expanding your vision, training your ear to hear what others ignore. That's why you think differently. That's why you couldn't just sit in the crowd and accept surface answers. That's why you asked deeper questions, why you saw flaws in structures others praised. You weren't being critical. You were being calibrated. And now that the world is finally ready to admit that its systems are broken, God is revealing those He trained in the quiet to bring order to the chaos. You're not just gifted, you're assigned. That means your insight isn't just random brilliance, it's on purpose. There are problems in this world that were made to match your mind. There are gaps that only your voice can fill. There are strategies that only your spirit has the clearance to receive. You've tried to explain what you see to people who couldn't understand. You've been frustrated trying to share the vision with those who lacked the language, and maybe you almost gave up, thinking no one would ever value what's inside of you. But now the environment is changing, the world is getting desperate, the systems are gasping for air, and God is saying, now they'll listen. The gifts you've carried in silence are about to speak louder than titles, louder than platforms, louder than fame. You don't need a position to operate in your anointing. When the right moment comes, your strategy will open rooms no resume ever could. Your name will be brought up in rooms you've never stepped into, not because you lobbied for it, but because heaven pushed it forward. When the time is right, divine strategy makes its own way, and God is about to place your insight in the hands of decision makers who finally realize that what they need doesn't come from politics, it comes from purpose. It's not just about what you know, it's about how you know. You don't just gather information, you receive revelation. And that kind of clarity can't be faked or borrowed. It comes from the hours you've spent in the dark, asking God questions that had no easy answers. It comes from wrestling with truth, not for the sake of arguments, but because your spirit was built to dig deeper. While others scrolled, you studied. While others spoke, you listened. While others repeated trends, you waited for heaven to speak. And that's why your voice will now carry weight, because it was birthed in obedience, not opinion. You're not called to copy what's been done. You're called to construct what's never been seen. That's why traditional paths never worked for you. That's why you couldn't just follow the crowd. You were never supposed to blend in. Your strategy was always meant to stand out. And now God is assembling a new kind of leader, those who can carry both the prophetic and the practical, who understand both the spiritual and the structural. You're not one or the other. You're the bridge. You're the blueprint. You're the voice between realms. And the world has never needed that more than it does right now. So don't shrink. Don't silence yourself. Don't second-guess the insights that come to you in the quiet. That's where strategy is born. And your strategy is sacred. It's not for applause. It's for alignment. It's not to impress. It's to impact. Don't worry if people don't understand you at first. They didn't understand Noah while he built the ark either. But when the rain came, his strategy made sense. Your rain is coming. Your moment to release what's been hidden is drawing near. And when it comes, don't apologize for being prepared. Don't water down the word. Don't hide the wisdom. Speak it, release it, walk in it, because you didn't create the strategy. You were chosen to carry it. Everything in your life has been preparing you to be a carrier of divine instruction. Not instructions that maintain what was, but instructions that build what's next. The old ways are crumbling, and God is raising up architects of the future. That's you. Chosen, refined, prepared. Not just to inspire, but to implement. Not just to pray, but to plan. Not just to see the vision, but to build it. This is what you've been waiting for. The strategies you've guarded are about to be needed like never before. And when the time comes, you won't have to convince anyone. The fruit will speak for itself. Because the chosen ones don't just predict the future, they prepare the way for it. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet tugging deep in your spirit, that stirring that something extraordinary is about to happen. It's been building for some time, and though you couldn't see it clearly, you could feel it. The world around you is shifting in ways that are hard to explain, and as much as it seems like everything is uncertain, there's a divine peace inside you that says, "This is exactly where I'm meant to be." You've walked through seasons of struggle and doubt, but you never fully gave up hope. Even in your weakest moments, there was a flicker of belief that one day all of this would make sense. You didn't see the purpose back then, but now it's starting to unfold. The pieces are finally fitting together. You are not just an observer in the world right now. You are a participant, and not just a passive one. You've been chosen to shape the course of what's coming. People around you are scrambling, unsure of what to do, where to go, what to believe. But you're standing firm. You're not moved by the chaos because there's something inside you that has been prepared for this moment. You have a clarity others can't grasp. You have a wisdom that isn't yours, but comes from the one who has been guiding you all along. And this wisdom isn't just for you, it's for everyone around you. This is the moment when you step into the fullness of your calling, not as a passive witness, but as a key player in what's about to unfold. God didn't bring you this far just to survive. He didn't allow you to go through all that pain, that isolation, that confusion, just to watch others thrive. You've been in the wilderness, but not for nothing. You've been in the furnace, but you're coming out as pure gold. There's a purpose for everything that has been poured into your life, every tear, every moment of questioning, every time you thought you couldn't go on. You're being shaped into someone who can not only handle the weight of what's coming, but someone who will use what God has given you to help carry others to freedom. Your strength isn't just for your survival, it's for the survival of many. It's easy to look around and think that the chaos of the world means it's all falling apart. But that's not what's happening. The world is shifting, and this is the moment of divine alignment. Those who were overlooked are about to be seen. Those who were ignored are about to be called. And those who were faithful, even when no one was watching, are about to step into their purpose in a way they never imagined. You have been prepared for this. You've been trained in the silence, in the seasons of waiting, in the struggle, because you are part of something much bigger than your individual journey. You've been chosen to walk into this new season of abundance, not just for yourself, but for others. You are a carrier of divine purpose, of solutions, of restoration. What's unfolding in the world is not just a natural occurrence, it's a divine strategy. The government, the systems of this world, the authorities, they're starting to recognize that what they've been relying on isn't enough anymore. The structures they've built are crumbling, and they're looking for something new. They're looking for solutions. And guess who has those solutions? It's you. You've been in preparation all this time, whether you knew it or not. Every season that seemed barren, every struggle that felt pointless, was a training ground for what's coming. You are the one with the keys to unlock what others cannot see. You are the one who's been trusted with divine insight that is now needed to bring order in the midst of chaos. The shift happening right now in the world, in the systems, in the structures, is not accidental. This is part of God's greater plan. He is setting things right, bringing things back into alignment. And the ones He has prepared, the ones who have been faithful, the ones who have been hidden in plain sight, are now being elevated to the places of influence. You are one of those people, and you are not just meant to sit back and watch. This is your time to step forward, to speak out, to take the reins. This moment has been waiting for you. The preparation you've undergone has been leading to this season where your voice, your wisdom, your insight is needed more than ever. But here's the catch. You cannot be passive in this moment. You cannot sit back and wait for it to happen. It's time for action. You have the insight. You have the wisdom. You have the strategy. Now it's time to step forward. God is not going to force you into this next phase. The doors will open, but you have to walk through them. The opportunities will arise, but you have to seize them. The resources will flow, but you have to put them to work. The only thing standing between you and your divine purpose is your willingness to take that first step. To move when the world is still standing still. To act when everyone else is waiting. To walk by faith when it's easier to stay in the comfort zone. The good news is you're not walking alone. The same God who has led you this far is the one who is with you now. The same God who prepared you in the wilderness is the one who will lead you into your destiny. And the destiny ahead of you is not small, it's vast. It's a kingdom purpose that reaches beyond your immediate surroundings, beyond your immediate sphere of influence. You are not just meant to impact your family or your friends, you are meant to influence systems. You are meant to change structures. You are meant to lead in ways that will transform lives. You were not created for a small vision. You were not prepared for a small impact. The world is about to see what God has been building in you all these years. What was once hidden will now be revealed. What was once dismissed will now be embraced. What was once ignored will now be the foundation of something that will last. You are the one who is meant to walk into this season of acceleration with clarity, with authority, and with boldness. And when you step into it, don't be surprised if doors open that seemed impossible before. Don't be surprised if the right people start to connect with you at the right time. Don't be surprised if opportunities start knocking down your door, because God's hand is on this. The time for waiting is over. The time for wondering if you were ready is past. God has already been preparing you, and now it's your time to act. What you carry is not just for you, it's for the world around you. And the world needs it more than ever. Your moment has arrived. This is your season to step forward in faith, knowing that everything you've been through, everything you've learned, every trial you've endured has been leading you to this divine moment. You are here for such a time as this, and now it's time for the world to see why. You've heard the whispers. You've felt the stirring in your spirit. You know deep down that something big is coming. The world around you is shaking, but within you there's a quiet peace. It's as if you were born for this moment. This isn't just another season. This is the culmination of everything you've walked through, everything you've endured, everything you've sacrificed. God has been preparing you for something greater than you can even imagine, and the time is now. What you've been waiting for, what you've been praying for, is about to be revealed. It's not just a breakthrough for you, it's the beginning of something that will impact everyone around you. You're not here by accident. Every setback, every delay, every trial has been shaping you for this. You may have questioned it at times, wondering why things seemed to take longer than expected, or why doors were closed when you thought they should be opening. But those moments weren't wasted. God was strategically positioning you. He was building your character, sharpening your discernment, and strengthening your faith. Every season of waiting, every season of silence was necessary. It was all part of the process. And now, as the pieces begin to fall into place, you'll realize that the very things that once seemed like barriers were actually stepping stones. The challenges you faced weren't meant to break you, they were meant to build you. The storms that once felt overwhelming were the very winds that were pushing you toward your destiny. When the enemy tried to wear you down, God used it to refine you. When you felt like giving up, God used it to strengthen your resolve. The years of struggle were never punishment, they were preparation. And now, the time has come for the world to see the fruit of everything you've endured. The season of waiting is over. The doors that were once closed are now swinging wide open, and the opportunities that you thought had passed you by are now coming back around, ready for you to step into them. You might be wondering how all of this is possible. How can things that seemed so far out of reach now be within your grasp? It's because God's timing is always perfect. What was once out of your control is now within His hands. He has been aligning everything behind the scenes, moving people, situations, and circumstances into position. What you thought was impossible is now happening. What you thought was lost is being returned. What was delayed is now accelerating. And the reason it's happening now, the reason the shift is so sudden, is because this is the season of divine alignment. God is bringing everything together for His purpose, and you are at the center of it. This isn't just about receiving blessings for yourself. It's about receiving them so you can be a blessing to others. The wealth, the influence, the opportunities that are coming your way aren't just for your benefit, they're for the kingdom. You are being positioned not just to enjoy abundance, but to distribute it. You are being trusted with resources not because of your ability to hoard, but because of your ability to steward. Your purpose has always been bigger than yourself. It's always been about the impact you're meant to make in the lives of those around you. And as you step into this new season, your influence will expand, your reach will grow, and your ability to impact lives will multiply. But with this new season comes responsibility. God is not giving you abundance to consume on your own. He's giving you abundance to spread, to multiply, to invest, to build. Your purpose is bigger than personal gain. You're here to create a ripple effect that will change families, communities, and even nations. The wealth that is coming your way is a tool to break cycles of poverty, to restore broken relationships, to build systems that reflect God's kingdom. You are not just meant to be a receiver of blessings, you are meant to be a channel of blessings. So, when the opportunities come, don't hesitate. Don't second-guess yourself. Don't hold back out of fear that you're not enough or that you're not ready. You are. You've been prepared for this. The training, the trials, the waiting, they've all led to this moment, and when the door opens, step through it boldly. Trust the process that has been unfolding behind the scenes. Trust that God has already cleared the path for you. You don't have to force it. You don't have to fight for it. It's already yours. And don't let fear keep you from stepping into the fullness of what's being offered to you. This isn't about what you deserve. It's about what God has promised. And His promises are never void. What He said He would do, He will do. The world may tell you it's too late, or that you don't deserve it, or that it's too good to be true. But what the world doesn't understand is that the promises of God aren't based on what we deserve. They're based on His grace. And His grace is more than enough to cover every gap, every shortcoming, every fear. You may have been living in the wilderness for a long time, but now the promise is being fulfilled. This is your time to rise. This is your time to take what God has already provided for you. The promise is not just for a select few, it's for all who are willing to step into it. The doors are open and the provision is flowing. The only question left is, will you walk through those doors? Will you embrace the opportunities that are being laid before you? Will you step into the destiny that's been waiting for you all along? Now is the time. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. The doors are open, and the world needs you to step through them. God has prepared you for this. You were made for this moment. Your breakthrough is not just for you. It's for the kingdom. It's time to rise, step into your purpose, and let the world see the impact of a life that's been chosen for greatness. The time is now, and it's your time. It's all led to this moment, hasn't it? Every twist, every turn, every high and every low, it's all been leading to this. You've gone through the struggle, the uncertainty, the battles no one could see, and yet you've come through them stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before. The questions you've had about your purpose, your future, and your destiny have been swirling in your mind, sometimes overwhelming you, sometimes leaving you questioning if you were ever truly meant for something greater. But the truth is, everything you've faced, everything you've endured, was part of God's preparation for the incredible purpose He has placed on your life. Now, the pieces are coming together, the fog is lifting, and the path forward is clearer than ever. You may have wondered why it took so long for things to align, why it felt like you were always just on the edge of something big but never quite reaching it. But what you didn't realize in those moments of waiting and uncertainty was that you were being refined, being molded, being strengthened for what was ahead. You were never delayed. You were being positioned. Every disappointment, every heartache, every setback was a divine setup for the breakthrough that is now just within your reach. The time of waiting is over. The time for action is now. The season you've been waiting for has finally arrived, and it's time for you to step into everything that God has prepared for you. You were chosen for this, and it's not just a title, it's a responsibility, a divine assignment that goes beyond your personal success or fulfillment. It's about the impact you will have on the world around you, on those who will be changed by your obedience, your faith, your courage. You're not just stepping into a season of blessing for yourself, you're stepping into a season of influence, of leadership, of change. The doors that are about to open won't just be opportunities for personal gain. They will be doors that allow you to fulfill your calling on a much larger scale. You've been called to be a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope to those who are lost, a voice of truth in a world that desperately needs it. As these doors open, don't shrink back. Don't doubt yourself. Don't let fear hold you back from walking through them with confidence, knowing that you've been prepared for this very moment. You may not have all the answers, you may not have all the resources or connections you think you need, but the one thing you do have is the favor of God, and that's more than enough. God will provide everything you need as you step into this new season. He will give you the wisdom, the courage, the strength, and the resources to fulfill your purpose. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to trust Him and take that first step. The challenges you will face in this next chapter will not be easy, but they will be worth it. You are being called to a higher place, to a greater purpose, and that will require your full commitment, your full trust, and your full surrender. You will have to rely on God more than ever before, leaning on His guidance, His strength, and His provision. But as you do, you will find that He is faithful. He will never leave you. He will never fail you. The same God who has been with you through every trial, through every season of doubt and uncertainty, is the same God who will walk with you through this next chapter. And He will carry you through to the other side, where victory, abundance, and purpose await. It's time to rise up and claim what God has already declared is yours. The journey hasn't been easy, but the rewards will be more than worth it. You were created for this moment. You were chosen for this purpose. And now you are stepping into the fullness of your destiny. The time is now. The doors are open. Your future is waiting for you, and it's time to walk boldly into it.